Hid for a few weeks before it came to me. I had to choose my heart, heal and get free. She said life's easy, pain comes with living. Surround myself with everything God's given. It's time to change my routine, create a new scene that feels like an unreachable dream.
Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, December 19th. The holiday is next week. If you celebrate and you are not prepared, now is the time to do so. I'm sorry I'm chuckling because I was thrown off a little bit in the beginning thinking that I had the wrong day, but it is Friday the 19th. This is Mentally How Are You? And I am your host, Neena Lock, here to discuss all things mental healing. Today is the last day for our trauma series, and we are going to jump right into things. I don't want to waste any time. Just as a quick review, let's go over some things. So far, we have learned that trauma can result from single events like accidents or assaults to chronic experiences such as abuse, neglect, racism, and even war. We have also learned that trauma is not just about the event itself, but how the nervous system experiences and stores the trauma in our soul and our body. Finally, we've discussed the instructions that can be sent to the body as a result of unhealed or even just the residue if you've gone through some form of healing, but even just the residue of a traumatic experience. Those instructions are flight, freeze, fight, and fawn. I think it's important to wrap up with understanding primary patterns or symptoms for traumatic experiences, as well as how trauma can be stored in the nervous system or your body and not just someone's memory. Now, I know that you may be looking forward to hearing about diagnoses. However, I do want to pull away from that at this time because I think a diagnosis is not as important as hearing about symptoms, about experiences, or hearing about things that just follow through with trauma or how trauma comes about. Again, I'm trying to get everybody to remove themselves from leading with a label or labeling yourself, and I want you to really understand what you're going through so that you can better understand how to get support, help, or how to even help yourself, okay? So these patterns can look like the following. And please note, these are just a few examples, and even if you identify with, let's say, one or two, it does not mean you've experienced trauma. Some of these you can experience with other things. It can be anxiety, it can be depression, but I'm going to, of course, because we're speaking to trauma, I'm going to speak about trauma now, but just because you maybe identify with one or two, don't self-diagnose, okay? First one is to be hypervigilant. This is where someone's always scanning or observing rather than being in the moment, or even being easily startled due to your body being in that fight or flee mode consistently, like nonstop. Second one is emotional numbing or dissociating. And so I want to point out, because I know that we're using this term more now too, to dissociate means to separate from association or union with another person, yourself, or other people. When speaking of it clinically, it is when someone who's experienced trauma disconnects from their own thoughts, their memories, feelings, identity, or sense of reality. Dissociating can range from, let's say, mild daydreaming to losing time to feeling very unreal, to feel as though you should not be in your body or you're not present. You don't feel like this is a real moment in time right now. This is a symptom you need to consult a therapist about to avoid confusion. So this is one that's very serious. It's not just light daydreaming. It's not where you just look off into the distance and you're thinking to yourself. That's processing. That's thinking, right? But to dissociate, like I said, you're not connected with self, and it's because of a traumatic event. So please seek a therapist or a counselor to really talk this through rather than just accepting that it is a symptom or a pattern you're experiencing, to avoid confusion. Thirdly, I think, speaking of avoidance, another pattern or symptom can be avoidance of reminders and intense fear of common life situations or encounters. So this can simply look like, I don't want to go down that same street where I had an accident. My body begins to shake. I get nervous even looking at the possibility of turning in that direction, right? I can't control myself. I can't regulate myself. I'm all out of whack and out of order. So you avoid that encounter. You avoid that situation instead of processing through and working through. Maybe you might need to take that street because it's a quicker route, right? Maybe it's the one directly near your home. So now you have to go through so many different steps to reach home because you don't want to feel what you're feeling in your body. You don't want to relive or rethink out the memory. That is avoidance, and that needs to be spoken to with a therapist or a counselor. Fourthly, I think intrusive memories or flashbacks, which we've spoken in depth about flashbacks. Remember that these pull you back in time and you're stuck there, right? You're frozen there. So these are some patterns that come about. Another pattern is sleep disturbances, such as sleep paralysis or even nightmares or night terrors. Another thing would be shame, guilt, self-blame, and which all can lead to self-sabotage, right? When you're feeling guilty, when you blame yourself for the situation, then it can lead to you sabotaging, let's say, opportunities that come up career-wise or with your gifts or field you want to be a part of, even opportunities like taking a trip with friends, right? Like maybe you won't go on a flight, you won't engage and go somewhere else, even though you desire to and you want to. That's self-sabotage. That can occur when you're feeling guilty, full of shame, or you blame yourself for a situation. Another pattern would be difficulty trusting others or feeling safe, as well as regulating emotions while amongst certain crowds. These are all symptoms or adaptive responses. None of them are weaknesses, and definitely not the person overreacting or being highly sensitive. The point of information I would like for you to take away from this series is you can heal and grow through and out of trauma. Through gradual trust building, learning how to regulate your nervous system, rewiring your thinking, right, with things like positive affirmations and daily declarations, and collaborating with therapists, all while understanding you must take one step at a time. You can grow, you can get through it. If you've had a traumatic event occur in your life or several traumatic events occur in your life, you can come out of it. You don't have to stay in a space of trauma. You just need to identify that that's what it is and then receive the help that you need, like I said, to progress forward, to move forward. And please remember, too, that you don't always need to review the trauma. If in your case, reviewing it pulls you way too far back and you feel like, you know what, I took 10 steps ahead, but now I'm all the way back before the beginning because I spoke about everything, then don't do that. Create your plan of moving forward and leave it there, okay? Next segment is pop psych versus clinical psychology. I must point out, this segment is the most important for this series specifically. Why? Glad you asked. Because it is vital that we educate ourselves or find ways to do so. And this segment provides you with the correct language for what you or someone you may know may be met with in your mental health journey. So please pay attention to our pop psych versus clinical psychology segments. This is true for the mental health journey overall, but in this series specifically, because I believe there are gems that are dropped here where it gives you more information about trauma in a different way from just me saying exactly what it is, but I'm quoting different myths and debunking them, and that will help you with understanding why. Okay, so first things first, we're going to go over one that I've been hearing consistently, and that is the myth of if it didn't bother you then, it shouldn't bother you now. We use this a lot when we victim shame and victim blame, actually. I've heard it quite frequently, and it actually sets people back because they try to get over things or remove themselves from this way of thinking. Many people believe if someone appears unaffected at the time of an event or in a moment, then a person is fine or okay. However, trauma can surface later when the nervous system finally has space to process what has occurred. So there is a such thing as a delayed reaction, and a delayed reaction is very common. So before you judge someone or you speak in judgment and your thought is, well, you weren't upset at the time, or I think we said in a previous episode, you didn't try to get away. Remember that there can be a delayed reaction, right? You can realize something after the fact or after some time, right? So I think that we need to be a little bit more cautious about making that statement. Another myth is that you shouldn't get over it, or you should get over it, right? Like you should just let it go. Remember, trauma is stored in the body through the nervous system and in our thoughts. So healing and growing requires safety, regulation, and oftentimes professional support, not just forcing yourself to move on. You do get to that point where you're able to move forward. However, it can't be a forceful thing, right? Sometimes we think we can just willpower ourselves to healing or to growing. And you can't create that. Like, you can make that up in your mind that I'm going to get through this. You can make that statement. You can make it an I am statement, and that can be true. But whatever work needs to be done behind that, that is necessary, right? If you know, okay, I can't jump over this hurdle just yet, but I'm going to train myself. I'm going to get my body together so that I can jump over it. So believing it, having the vision, and seeing yourself get through it and over it is perfectly fine. But trying to force yourself or shake yourself through it won't work. It'll only dig you deeper into the hole, okay? Another myth I've heard is, if you remember everything clearly, then you are fine or you're okay. Or if you can't remember all the details, then it wasn't traumatic. Trauma exists with clear memory, with a fragmented memory, or no conscious memory at all. It is not about if you can remember every detail. I have had several people sit in front of me with a traumatic story, event, or details, and they are beating themselves up because they're saying, man, if I could just, I'm trying to remember, I think this happened, but I'm not sure. And then you get frustrated and angry with yourself. Our memory, our brain, our body, it all shifts when you've gone through something traumatic, right? So trying to get every detail won't always help, and sometimes it's not even necessary to get every detail, right? If you're on trial or you're in court, maybe they want you to get every detail correct or down to the bottom of it, and even then you have to be able to say, you know what, I really don't remember, I just remember this. That's okay. You don't have to remember every detail. You don't have to remember all of the deadlines and the moments and the wins and the hows. If you know that it occurred, you know that it occurred. As you process and you do your therapeutic work, you may have some things come to your memory, or you may need to leave some things in the therapist's chair, right? So even if you are the person that you say, you know what, I can remember every single detail, okay? Now we're going to work on leaving some of that alone. Some of that may have to go. You got to release it in order to heal. In order to receive what you really want in your life, you have to be willing to have open hands. That means releasing some things. So try not to stand too hard on one side or the other of remembering it all or forgetting it all, okay? Lastly, I'd like to point out, I've heard some people say that children are resilient and they won't remember because they're young. This is the biggest mistake people make with children. Now, of course, things can happen in front of kids that we don't mean to happen, right? We may make some mistakes. We're all still learning and growing no matter what. We wake up each new day and there's something new to learn or experience. However, we have to remember that children's brains and their nervous system are especially sensitive. Even if they don't remember events cognitively, trauma can shape attachment responses, it can shape stress responses, and beliefs of self. So they may grow up with a belief about themselves or, just thoughts about who they are, and really it's not true. It doesn't belong to you anyway. You just seen it as a child or experienced it as a child, right? You heard it happening around you. Now you have this belief about yourself. And the truth is, this never belonged to you in the first place. This belonged with the individuals or the adults who were around, or the adults around children right now. And now they need to process through or hear the reasons why this is not okay, why that was a mistake, how you apologize or take accountability, right? So don't think just because a child is young, they're at a certain age, that they don't experience the situation just as you are. They may experience it in a different way, but they're still experiencing it, okay? Moving on to mentally, how are you? I have a question here. It states, hey, Neena, I have a friend who is in an abusive relationship, and I'm so nervous for her because she knows she should leave, but thinks she can handle the situation. She thinks he won't hurt her to the point of no longer living, but says she can't take the abuse anymore. She also has kids with him and feels guilty about taking them from the home. What should I do as a friend, or is there someone she can talk to? Can she talk to you? I tried to make her watch the show, but I think she can't handle the information. Okay. I'm so sorry to hear this. This is a subject that touches my heart dearly, and normally if I'm standing in front of a person and they're going through this, I do everything I can to fight back tears because I lost a loved one. She was only 21 to domestic violence, to abuse, and tried to get her out of that situation. So I understand very strongly what you're experiencing and what you mean. I will say that if you're here in the Aurora land area, Mutual Grounds is a great resource to go to and to engage in. There's also the National Domestic Abuse Hotline, which is 800-799-7233. I think as a friend, what's important for you to remember and to try to do is, one, to listen, right? And listen without judgment. Try your best to just hear her experience and what she is going through. And try not to judge, but rather share your concerns and be honest in love. Okay? Outside of that, I think it would be very good for you to give your concerns to her and let her know, hey, I've reached out. I have this number now. I know about Mutual Ground. We can go. I'll go with you, right? Be that willing party to go with her, to see her healing through with her. Stay at appointments if possible. Take time to be there. And take the time to speak up, but also love, so that you don't push her further into the situation, right? A bunch of, I hate him and this, and that, right? I know that's how you may feel, and it's okay to feel that way. That is totally normal and perfectly fine. However, you may need to have that conversation with someone else, and then the conversation with your friend. It needs to be in love and concern of, hey, I'm worried about you. I'm worried that I could wake up and you won't be here anymore because you're going through this, or that he will do something you think you have control over, right? Give her little small reminders like, hey, remember, we can't control other people. If we could, I would control you and get you out of the situation. But we can't control other people. So even though you think you have it measured, let's just take this step just in case, and I'll take it with you. I hope that helps you. To those who are listening, who are watching, I hope that the information helps you as well. And remember to email any of your mental health questions or concerns to mentallyhowareyou@gmail.com. I will answer as best I can. For our toolbox technique today, I have a question. What is your routine? Trauma can disrupt the nervous system's sense of safety, in which disrupts regulation. A healthy routine reestablishes that regulation. So your routine is very important. It's vital for your life, but it's different from your schedule. And I think sometimes we get these two things mixed up, so I want to explain it to you. A schedule is what you do throughout your day, throughout your week, or even month, according to days, events, and times. An example would be your work schedule. Let's say you arrive at work at 8 p.m. and you carry out tasks at set times in the day, and these tasks may change from time to time or even according to work days. Maybe every Tuesday and Thursday you do this at work, and Wednesdays and Fridays you do something different, right? But that's your work schedule. That's what happens hour to hour, minute to minute in your day. It's planned and arranged events. A routine is what creates stability and foundation. It's actions regularly followed that are fixed and do not change. So an example of a routine would be, let's say you wake up daily at 6 a.m. You take a run or you go to the gym. You then eat breakfast and you complete your hygiene. And then you engage in a mindfulness activity that you've learned from Mentally How Are You to start your day. And then you complete every day with a routine like stretching, hygiene. Maybe you read a book and you're in bed at 11 p.m. Your routine should be the opening and the closing of each and every day. I like to tell my clients and my patients that it should never change, even if you are on vacation. So it is that regulation in our day. Right? Like I said, it's the opener and it's the closer. You know that this is going to happen. Your body, your brain, your mind, your soul, everything is regulated to that. It's in sync with your routine. This helps with, once more, it helps with regulation, with stability, and creates a safe space daily for you and some predictability as well. Hopefully that tool helps you today, and I think that everybody should apply it, especially if you've been through any form of trauma. Lastly, before we go today, I want to speak on this because the family has spoken out, and I waited so that I wasn't disrespectful to them. I think it's very disrespectful if we speak before family members get to, or before they at least set a stance on how they want to address the situation. I want to say to the family of DJ Commando, we here at Mentally How Are You are praying for you and would like to extend our deepest sympathy and support to everyone watching and to those who sent, messages and suggestions about this situation for the show. I just want to say, you never know who knows whom. And I had the pleasure of meeting DJ Commando years ago. However, at that time, he wasn't DJ Commando. He was simply Landon, a young man running around in pure excitement for SIU's homecoming weekend, and because Drake was the headliner. I kept wondering why he was so excited for Drake's appearance, and we had kind of like a strong little debate about this. However, learning he had become a DJ made it all make sense. So I just wanted to say, that there is love out there for this individual. And again, we here at Mentally How Are You are here for any form of support that you may need. Everyone, I want you all to be sure to check in with your loved ones, check in with friends, and even just be kind to strangers on the street, especially at this time of the year, as the holidays can be the most difficult time for so many people. Please take advantage of our suicide prevention resources, as well as gather facts and information from episodes 19, 16, 17, and 9, I think, in episode 9. To those of you whom celebrate, happy holidays to you all. I want to thank you all for sitting with me on this episode of Mentally How Are You? It is my hope that you are leaving more stable than when you came in, and I will see you guys officially next year. We are off for the next 2 Fridays. Please get with a group of friends, loved ones. Like I said, review certain episodes, go over this information, be safe, stay warm, have fun, love on each other, and we will see you next year. Bye, everybody.
No judgment, just love, so I can be me. I'm tired of hearing it's okay not to be okay. Just want the dark days to go away. Mentally, how are you? How are you? Yeah. I know it's hard, but you can get well if you want to. Mentally, how are you? Yeah. I know it's hard, but you can get well if you want.